Hello and welcome to Jackson's Job. Today we're going to learn how to make mall-style pretzels. These are really easy to do and really tasty. Here are your ingredients if you want to follow along, but they'll also be included below. In a large pan, you want to line it with parchment paper because if you don't use parchment paper, the baking soda can interact with some metals and give a very strange taste to it. Now, if you don't have parchment paper, you can use a silicone mat or a non-stick surface, but if you're using aluminum in particular, the baking soda will interact and you will get a metallic taste to your pretzels. So I do not recommend going forward without parchment paper. And then please be aware of what temperature your parchment paper needs to be baked at. If you want a sweet pretzel, you need 2 tablespoons of sugar, 25 grams. To that, you're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 0.5 grams or more to taste. And you want to give that a stir. Now for convenience, you can put it in a shaker like I have here, and it will make it easier to put on your pretzel. Otherwise, you just sprinkle it on at the end. If you don't want a sweet pretzel, you skip this step altogether. In a small bowl, I have some flour. I have 1 cup, 150 grams of flour. I recommend you always weigh your ingredients when it comes to making bread. To the flour, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, 14 grams, 1/2 teaspoon of yeast, 1.75 grams, and 1/8 teaspoon or a pinch of salt, which is 1 gram approximately. You want to mix this up until it's well combined, and then we're going to add in our liquid in measurements. We want 1 tablespoon of oil, 15 milliliters. You need the entire tablespoon of oil. This helps you create the rope at the end, and if you try to use less, it will just break or it won't stretch very well. I have tried. You need the whole tablespoon. It also gives some really nice flavor if you use a flavored oil. To that, you're going to add in 1/3 cup or 80 milliliters of hot water. Use as hot as you can stand it. Don't get it so hot that you're going to burn yourself. Mix this until you get a shaggy dough like this, and then pick up the crumbs and we're going to put it onto a clean work surface and begin to knead it. Now, if you wanted to, you could use a stand mixer. You would put all the ingredients in at once and you would mix this for 8 to 10 minutes or until elastic and smooth. Say hi to Raymond, everybody. You do not want to add any more water if you can help it, and again, I really recommend you weigh out your dry ingredients at the very least. After it becomes really nice and stretchy and soft and pliable, let it sit on the counter for about a minute, and then you want to check it to see if it's stretchy. See if you can stretch it easily without tearing. It should really stretch really far like this, and if you held it up to a window, you should be able to see light behind it. If when you're stretching it like this, it tears, it means you need to knead it another 3 to 4 minutes and try again. Once it is well kneaded, you're going to put it in a bowl and then you're going to cover it and let it rest. You want it to double in size. It takes generally 90 minutes to 120 minutes. That's an hour and a half to 2 hours, but it really is dependent on your temperature in your room and humidity levels. It could be as fast as 30 minutes or even quicker, or it could take several hours. Just keep an eye on it, and it should look like this when it is ready. It should be roughly double in size, and when you push on it, it should still hold some shape and not completely collapse, but when you push really hard, it will collapse under pressure. After your dough has risen, preheat your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit or 220 degrees Celsius. You want to remove the dough and divide it by 2. Ideally, you would use a scale here, but if you don't have a scale, you can eyeball it. This water bath gives your pretzel that unique taste. You need 2 tablespoons of baking soda, 36 grams, and to that we're going to add 4 cups of hot water, 960 milliliters, and you want it as hot as you can stand it. Don't get it so hot that you're going to burn yourself. Set that aside, and then we are going to shape our pretzel. Here comes the fun part. We are going to roll this into a rope, and then we are going to shape this into a pretzel. When you roll this out, you want it to be about 24 to 36 inches. That's 2 to 3 feet, or just under a meter. When you begin to roll this out, it may want to bounce back on you. If you need to, just let it rest for a few moments and then it will be easier to roll out. Don't force it, because if you force it, you will tear the dough. If you do tear the dough, just patch it together, let it rest, and try again. Once you have your U shape like this, you're going to hold on to the ends. You're going to circle one hand around the other, drop the dough, and then you should have a pretzel like this. I find this very difficult, so I'm going to show you a much easier method. I find the next method much easier because this method weakens the dough somewhat, and then when you are dipping the pretzel, it can sometimes fall apart like it did here. No big deal if it does. All you have to do is reshape it onto the sheet like I'm doing. Let's move on to the much easier method. A much easier way to make a pretzel is to make a U shape. Grab the ends and do a twist, just like this. Do another twist and then bring down the ends. And then you're just going to shape the pretzel. If you want an extra twist, go ahead and give yourself one. I always like an extra twist because I find that is the best part of the dough. Then we're going to dip this into our water bath we made. Then we are going to bake these for 10 to 12 minutes or until golden brown, and they should look so delicious just like these. You're going to take a half a tablespoon of butter or margarine, and then you just want to paint it over top until it's really nicely well coated. I have found if you stick a fork in a little pat of butter, you save a lot of calories and you don't even need to use it all, and you can always use that butter to dip the pretzel in if you want to be extra indulgent. Once you get a really nice coating, if you wanted to, you could flip it over and coat the back side as well. Then you are going to crack on some salt, about 1/8 of a teaspoon, 1 gram, or till taste. And that cinnamon sugar mixture we made earlier, we're just going to sprinkle it generously all over the top of this pretzel. I'm really curious if you prefer a sweet or savory style pretzel or if you like them both. I think we must have eaten about 30 pretzels or so creating this recipe. I really hope you enjoy it. Look how wonderful this bread is. It is soft and chewy on the inside, and it's crispy and buttery and salty on the outside. It is just like going to the mall without having to leave your home. And here's that sweet one we made earlier. It's just as wonderful. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy baking.